Hey guys, Digit Lifestyle here, back with another video. This one's basically about the public sector and the IMF, um, what's coming down the tracks, and how we need to be prepared. Basically, she said the private sector, IMF tells public sector to buckle up for transition to digital currency. This was out last month. However, it's relevant today because she has a video out as well with it. I will play you the video. I won't play you all. It's like two hours long, but I will play you a sector from it. At the same event, former governor of Sweden, Rishi Sunak's Stefan Ingves, observed that central banks and legacy banks have been too slow. If you're unable to engineer a transaction efficiently, basically customers, consumers, sorry, and investors will use somebody else's money, and they are out of it. And we cannot do monetary policy anymore in the same way we think about monetary policy, he said. That's why it is so important not to be asleep at the wheel. The IMF Georgina made a similar observation. Her remarks are close to digital currency panel, where we're keen to open our mind, embrace opportunities, manage risk, responsibilities. Time is not on our friend. We have to move fast. So my long last word is to buckle up. And you can hear her talking about collaboration, etc., with different organizations and how interoperability has to work.
Well, the collaboration between private sector innovators and public authorities, it is happening. What we do here is collaboration between private sector and public authorities. And what we have seen is that indeed the private sector brings more creativity, more innovation, but actually the credible private sector begs for the public sector to play its role. And it is, what is the legal framework? What are the rules? What are the standards? And Stefan brought a point that we should not forget. How is this all being supervised in this new era? What is the role of supervising authorities? We also look for our role as an international financial institution, and it is to bring different experiences together, help countries learn from each other, and then help those that are with more limited institutional capabilities not to fall behind. We have an instrument called FSAP, Financial Sector Assessment, and that instrument today has to reflect the changing nature of money. The fact that we have CBDCs, interest, actually not just interest, we now have 19 countries where CBDCs are reality. And we have a universe of at least 60 where progress is being made. They're not just exploring, they're working on it. To those that are saying, well, I don't know where the CBDC is for us, and we know that in some economies that is being questioned, my advice is stay on top of it because you don't want to be falling behind just because you are not engaged, not on top of it. In the world we are, where change is happening much more rapidly than it used to happen. In the 19th century, we moved around on buggies with horses. We just have to have both public institutions much more interested in developments and engaged in the bodies that they have to help them, but also private entrepreneurs being more open to collaborate with the public sector. Because if I put a very simplistic view, when we talk about CBDCs, the issue of interoperability is absolutely paramount. We cannot be in a world where every country has its own money and they don't talk to others. Whereas in the world of stable coins, the regulation is the paramount priority. There has to be clarity of how this all works. And these two topics, interoperability and regulation, they cannot be addressed without partnership between public and private sector. We're just not going, Stefan talked about it. We cannot get to fast enough to the point that serves the public if we choose to go our own way, not talk with each other, not engage with each other.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me briefly add on the international cooperation, the importance of the international cooperation. So currently, international organizations make recommendations on crypto asset regulation, and they also provide the direction for discussions in order to apply common standards. And I think all these efforts are very important. And then each country does not have the same situation. So there will be differences when detailed regulations are applied. Then we can share and learn from each country's experience, and this helps create a better crypto asset ecosystem. And I think this is exactly the purpose of this conference. And when Korea prepares laws on crypto assets, we also met with major institutions like U.S. regulators and IMF, and we discussed regulation trends and policy directions. And we are also checking with other international organizations like FSB and IOSCO, and we will continue our efforts in this direction. And FSB and IOSCO also both says that the sharing information is very important, and cooperating with the other authorities are very important. So Korean government will also share the information with other jurisdictions to ensure coordinated policy responses. And we will also actively participate in the efforts of international organizations to establish regulatory standards.
Mm-hmm. Just a couple of minutes left. I just want to go down the line. Maybe a call to action as we head towards digital money.
I think, let me just underline what the managing director said. The private sector is incredibly creative, and you have a lot of ingenuity in providing customer-facing services. I think the issue, if you just leave it to the private sector, is that they tend to achieve the aims by, whatever means available. So you can build silos. Many commercial banks have tokenization initiatives. It's all within the silo, and they would use stable coins because that is the simplest payment instrument. I think there is a very, very important role for the official sector, very important role for central banks, in providing a firm foundation upon which others can build. And I think that's the way where we can make the progress in the fastest way.
David?
Really quickly, the only thing I would say is the private sector can be very self-serving at times, and you all are supposed to rise above that. The last thought I would have is embrace the change. All the work we're doing and moving towards production supports a two-tier monetary model that will be very familiar. But we just have the advantages that the ledger can bring, which is smart money. It's easier to have regulatory oversight, to understand and see flows in real time, and to enhance your economy and help your businesses in many of the ways I've already discussed. So embrace change and be not afraid, I suppose.
Be bold.
Yeah.
You cannot turn back. You cannot turn back time, because if that had been the case, the institution I happen to represent would have been in favor of 20-kilo copper coins. And then we would not have existed. So you just have to accept change. Having said that, It's incredibly important to do this jointly with the private sector and in such a way that you have a legal framework supporting what you do, because that's the only way to define who owns what, when, and why. And that's what you need in a functioning market economy.
Kristalina.
Well, keep an open mind and embrace opportunities, manage the risks responsibly. Time is not our friend. We have to move fast. So my last word is buckle up.
Wise words. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking our panelists today. Thank you.
So listen, right, they're going forward with their digital asset, regardless of whatever we may think, or however they're going to play this one. There also still will be the dollar for a little while, I think, or fiat currencies. But here's the thing. The reason why we're going down this road is because there is so much debt in the system. The system is collapsing before our eyes. They're just propping it up, printing money, hyping interest rates, which is a tax at the end of the day. Yeah, a hidden tax, and they just call it inflation, but it is a hidden tax. Devaluing their own currencies, and at the same time buying lots of gold. But there is an agenda that's taking place. The CBDC will be used, or could be used, to entrap, unless there is some pushback on how it is actually programmed. You're also going to hear from Klausy Wowsy, and this lady here, she wants people to wake up about the dangers of CBDC. This man here does not like human beings one little bit, and you're going to hear from him. Useless humans, that's what he calls us. And then you're going to hear, and this is great advice for those who are just coming into the crypto market right now, to pay attention. People need to wake up to what literally is taking place. And he gives a great quote, Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, they give a great quote when they say, when it's cheap, we buy more. Do you know what I mean? That kind of mentality. And I think 99% of the population does not see what is literally taking place. Literally taking place. I spoke to a friend, I think it was yesterday or no, the day before. And I said, have you heard of cryptocurrencies? Yes. And then the response was, but I'm not getting into it. I'm not. And I said, well, there's utility. He said, well, I don't understand it. And I tried to explain, but the general consensus is, from my perspective, is that the damage has been done by the elites to put people off this market. But at the same time, adoption is taking place massively. I'm going to come out with a couple of videos in the next couple of days, especially when it comes down to a couple of projects that are built on the XRP ledger, that are doing stuff. Flare Finance is a great project that is on the XRP ledger, and all the other things that are coming on, the AMMs that are going to help people make passive income. There's going to be a two-tier system when it comes down to the hollowing out of what they're doing. There are going to be people on the CBDC because they'll have to take it, they'll have no choice. And there'll be those who have got into, say, utility tokens that are going to be much, much better off. Anyway, if you like this content, please like and subscribe. Take care of yourself, guys. Do check Lifestyle out.
I think that we're very close to this collapse being triggered. What are the indications for that? Well, most profoundly, what has been done to interest rates and where they are now, and the scale of the insolvencies that are out there. They're not being discussed. They're being covered up. The only way that the financial system has not collapsed is that there is a big hidden hand injecting lots of created money directly into the financial markets, holding them up right now, as well as allowing institutions to believe they have downside risk by buying protection in the derivatives market, the combination of those things. So this support, the hidden hand as I call it, can be withdrawn at the time of their choosing. But we're getting late in this process given what's already happened to the interest rates. The other indication of timing is the bank resolution, the documents of the Bank Resolution Authority in Europe. Their planning cycle documents were mandating all of the globally systemically important banks to be ready for solvent wind down at the end of last year, 2022. Now, what they mean by solvent wind down is not wind down of the entire bank on a solvent basis. It will be parts of the bank that will remain solvent. But they've literally mandated that they have to be ready, the biggest banks, to go flat on all of their derivatives positions in a controlled way suddenly. So they've prepared for that. That is operational as of the end of last year. Now, in this year's planning cycle document, they are saying that they are on track to have completed all their work by the end of this year, 2023. So these are indications. To give you another idea of the seriousness of this, they've been running these trilateral exercises with Britain and the EU and the US for 6 of the 7 past years. I think they may have missed a year during COVID, but in these exercises, from the U.S. side, the participants are the U.S. Treasury Secretary, the Chairman of the Federal Reserve, the Chairman of the FDIC, the heads of all these entities in this exercise, which I've never seen before with anything. So they're very, very serious about this. And these exercises are about assuring the cross-border transfer of the collateral when the banks are put into wind down. So you've noticed.
And the last factor I want to mention is resilience, the capability to bounce back, because there will be certainly what we call the black swans, the unpleasant surprises which will come in our way. So, Minister, dear participants, I wish you a very good meeting.
Many people don't see or understand what will happen to us with this great digitalization revolution, especially the possible dangers and misuse. Here's a small excerpt of the pilot projects we are working on. Topic: Digitized car. Pilot projects are already underway. In the next 10 years, it will no longer be possible to insure old hams. So with old hams, he means an old car, the same one that I drive, for example. In one of my last videos, I mentioned my car, which is really old and I still love it. And he also drives an old car. So those old cars, you will not be able to insure anymore in the next 10 years. So you will be forced to buy a digital car. Otherwise, you won't get insurance. These cars are online 24/7 and in real time in touch with the insurance, traffic authorities, remote maintenance, surveillance and authorities. Depending on your style, time, speed, driver, your insurance premium will automatically adjust. For example, if you drive too fast and risky, you will not only get to pay a fine to the magistrate, but also your insurance premium automatically increases. Let's register you as a night driver. You will get a higher premium. If you have more passengers in the car, you will get a higher premium. If your premium is not paid, you will no longer be able to start your car. We are already in discussions with several major automotive brands to bring a Europe-wide standardized technical one-size-fits-all solution onto the market. Many people don't know that fully integrated breathalyzers, AlcoGuard, will be mandatory in the coming vehicle generations. This means that if you are drunk, you will no longer be able to start your car. Even if you are below the minimum alcohol limit, this data will be passed on to the insurance company and you will be penalized with a higher premium. If you are drunk beyond this limit, the relative authorities will automatically be informed and your insurance will be cancelled immediately. Transparent customer. We are also relying on the upcoming digital ID to access personal data such as health, traffic, home, etc. The background is that all the necessary customer data is already stored somewhere, and as long as it does not leave the European Union, everything is fine for the insurance sector with the GDPR. Nowadays, customers also carelessly give their OK under the small print that we can collect their personal data. In real time, we collect medical records, living conditions, vehicle data, etc. in the event of damage. Upcoming pilot projects are planned with credit institutions, banks, to reward a healthy lifestyle and punish an unhealthy one, in which we monitor shopping behavior, temporarily limited to districts, but only a matter of time until it is delivered to individual people. If you live in a district where a lot of unhealthy stuff is consumed, does it affect your life insurance, pension, death, etc.? We already checked the liquidity of all customers, but it's still quite old-fashioned. With the coming technological advances, digital ID, digital currency, we will be able to check the liquidity in a real time via interfaces with banks, credit institutions, etc., as well as the tax circumstances of each customer.
Entities in the world, after thousands of years, during which humans were the rulers of the world, authority and power will shift away from humans to computers, and most humans will become economically useless and politically powerless. Already today, we are beginning to see the creation of a new class of humans, the useless class. Just as the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century created the new working class, the proletariat, so now the artificial intelligence revolution is beginning to create the useless class.
One thing that maybe surprised you most, something you learned the last year?
Well, I learned that people don't know as much as they think they know, but the biggest thing you learn is that the pandemic was bound to occur, and this isn't the worst one that's imaginable at all. Society has a terrible time preparing for things that are remote, that are possible, and will occur sooner or later. There'll be another pandemic. We know that. We know there's a nuclear, chemical, biological, and now cyber threat. And we know, each one of those has terrible possibilities, and we do some things about it, but it's just not something that society seems particularly capable and fully coming to grips with. The cyber threat, that we've just started, and look at the damage that's already been done. Charlie and I have been ungodly lucky in many ways, but the luckiest thing was actually being around at this time and place. And we also have these problems on how to 200 countries with over 7.5 billion people, and a lot of tensions between them and all sorts of things, and different systems of selected governments and all that. And how do we actually do this so that mankind, 50 and 100 and 200 years,